Hey guys, welcome to today's video. We're gonna do a little watch comparison here, a classic head-to-head between the discontinued Seiko SKX and its new replacement in the rebranded sports line, the SRPD. Now people have coined the new SRPD the 5KX, which I gotta say, I think that's an appropriate nickname and I like it. So this is the 5KX versus the SKX. We're gonna go through different aspects of the watch. I'm gonna declare things that one does better than the other. And at the end of the video, I'll give you my suggestion for what I think is the more compelling package. So let's start with the case. The cases look to be identical. Same finishing, same brushing, polishing, dimensions, weight, and execution. The only noticeable difference is Seiko has added drilled lugs to the 5KX, which personally I prefer. I like the aesthetic and I like the added ease of use as you're changing out straps and bracelets and such. So for that reason, I'm gonna give the nod here to the SKX, but they are very comparable. Now let's talk about bezel and bezel action. With the 5KX, Seiko does not have a fully indexed bezel. They did not put a luminescent pip in the top of the bezel, so it will not meet the ISO 6425 specifications for recreational scuba diving. So for that reason, I'm gonna give the nod to the SKX. It's classic, it's got high contrast, and I think is pretty decent for the price. Now, as far as action goes, the 5KX has noticeably nicer action. So if you're not actually diving and you're not going to the max recommended safe depth of 30 meters where it's very dim and dark, I think you're probably gonna enjoy the 5KX bezel more because of the enhanced action, how it's a little bit crisper, a little bit more defined, less mushy, and easier to turn. Overall, it just feels a little bit nicer. Now, how is alignment, you ask? Because the SKX is pretty notorious for having misaligned bezel inserts, chapter rings, and dials. I gotta say the 5KX is a little better, but it's still misaligned. Mine's a hair off. And I think that's gonna be probably the norm as opposed to the exception. So if you're bothered by misalignment, and I know a lot of you guys are, I would stay away from both watches, frankly, because Seiko, they just do not care. It's their entry level model. It's meant to kind of get you into the hobby and make you want to experience the turtle and the sumo and the monster and samurai and tuna and SBDC and Marine Master 300, right? It's kind of a slippery slope. But on a lot of their entry and even mid-level, there's just misaligned chapter rings, misaligned bezels, and yes, these two both have it. So put your money where your mouth is. Make Seiko start caring by dipping into their profit, dipping into their pocketbooks. Now let's talk about the movement. The 7S26 in the SKX versus the 4R36 in the 5KX, very comparable when it comes to accuracy, jewel count, power reserve. I believe they're using the same hairspring and mainspring, same quality. But the difference is the 4R has hacking and hand winding, which personally I prefer, and I kind of like seeing it through the exhibition case back. And I think a lot of first-time buyers, and again, this is an entry-level watch, they're gonna enjoy seeing the movement, seeing the gear, seeing the balance, if it's their first time buying a mechanical watch. So nod here to the 5KX, although I do have to say, there's something kind of fun about the 7S that it doesn't hack. So if you set the time, you're not looking down at your wrist 5, 6, 7 hours later and noticing how many seconds it's already deviated, right? There's a little bit of peace of mind you don't know, so it doesn't bother you. Now let's talk about the straps. You get more choice on the 5KX. You can get mesh, bracelet, rubber, leather, NATO. There are a lot more options new versus the rubber and the Jubilee bracelet on the SKX. But I gotta say, at this price point, the straps really are Seiko's Achilles heel. They don't put a lot of time and money and engineering into it, so they leave you wanting more. So I'm gonna say there's no winner here because you're gonna wanna upgrade. You're gonna wanna go to Uncle Seiko or Strapcode and get a rubber or bracelet or something else to enjoy the watches on. Now let's talk about functionality, usability, wearability, and any other factors like the magic. People say the SKX has a charm about it, right? Even though it's not a very technically impressive watch, it's been out for like 20 years, a little bit over 20 years. There's a magic and a charm associated with it. And I was thinking about that and what exactly does that mean? I think it's not the Jubilee, the Rattly Jubilee. It's not the Hardlex Crystal or the printed loom. I think the charm comes from the case, the fit, how comfortable it is, how functional it is, and how original it is. It's definitely quintessential Seiko. It's got their classic design DNA. The case evolved from the 6309, the Turtle, which was an evolution from the 6105, probably one of the coolest all-time divers that Seiko came out with in the 1970s. So I understand the design, charm, and just how it fits on wrists. They're very comfortable cases, and they do fit a wide number of wrists. So I think that's where the charm aspect is coming from. But if I'm wrong, you guys let me know in the comments section, because I don't really get the charm quote about the SKX. Seeing as the same case is found with drilled lugs on the 5KX, I think over time people are going to kind of come around to enjoying the watch, and maybe even saying that that one has the charm and the magic, just like they currently say about the SKX. Now, when it comes to water resistance, I'm gonna give the nod here definitely to the SKX. It's got 200 meters of water resistance. It has a screw down crown. Again, it has that loom pip. So you could actually take this recreational scuba diving if you wanted to. The 5KX, well, it's 100 meters of water resistance, and there's a push-pull crown. So obviously, the SKX wins in this category. But I do have to say a little something about the functionality. You're not losing anything on the 5KX when it comes to day-to-day activities. You can still swim with this, shower with this, wash it under the tap. If you did want to go recreational scuba diving, I think you'd be just fine. You know, you could go to that max depth, safe depth of 30 meters without issue. The screw down crown really is only to lock the crown in place and keep the movement sealed within the case. Now, to wrap up the video, let's talk about price. The SKX goes for about $200. The 5KX, seeing as it's a new release, it is going to be a little bit more expensive. They go for the mid to high 200s, so it's the more expensive watch right now. I have a coupon code for Mimos Jewelry. They are an authorized Seiko dealer. If you're interested, it's SAKE20 for 20% off the retail price. So I think over time, as the 5KX kind of permeates the market and there's more people selling them, more on the secondary market, that price is going to come down a little bit, not a ton. And I think as watch fans, specifically as Seiko fans, we've been very spoiled over the past 5-6 years, where Seiko has largely not done price increases. So we're kind of accustomed to 5-6-year-old pricing, and I think it's just time for a market correction. The good news is, if you do not like the 5KX, you do not like the price, the SKX, you know, it is very readily available, and I don't see that changing. They made this watch for, 20 years, 20 plus years, and there are thousands and thousands and thousands of them out there. So you're gonna be able to go out and buy one. I don't think it's gonna be an investment piece. It's not gonna jump up and suddenly become a $500 watch. I do not think that's gonna happen. But fortunately, if you like either one, you're going to be able to go buy them, the SKX or the 5KX. Now, which one do I pick? You guys probably know this already, but I like the new 5KX. I like the drilled lugs. I like the applied logo on the dial. I like the faux applied markers. I like the different options as far as colors and execution. I like the movement. I think it's a more compelling package as a whole. I do enjoy the SKX. I think it's attractive. I think will always kind of be deemed as a classic. But as far as head-to-head specs goes, the new watch obviously is better, and it should be, right? It's going up against a 20-year-old watch. But let me know what you guys think. I know a lot of you don't like the new one, you like the old one. That's totally fine. I'm not trying to bag on the SKX. I'm not trying to insult you personally. I just prefer the new one. So again, let me know what you think in the comments. Let me know if you have any specific questions. Thanks for taking the time to watch today, guys. I'll see you in the next video.